possible, is riding in a very controlled manner. And there's another acceleration up the left-hand side. So riders here distinctly feeling that this race, for the possible stage win, is moving away. They need a little bit more pace, so the racing is now on. There was a solid pace being set by Lidl Trek, but clearly not enough. So several riders now up the road, and VF Group Bardiani taking it into their hands to try and provide a catalyst for some more aggressive racing. Otherwise, one of these riders could stay out in front and steal the show.
Yeah, a little bit like Soudal, who was another rider who's been in attacking form. We saw quite a bit of friskiness from him, didn't we, in the counter-attacks on day 2 from Soudal, the VF Group Bardiani CSF Faizani squad. Was that to go to the front to try and close down this Caravelle, or was it to try and get clear of the Lidl Trek-led what you might call main peloton or group of favourites in pursuit of the lone chaser and the 2 breakaway riders up front? So riders riding solo on the climb now. We've got Sarenko, the stage leader for the Team Solution Tech Vini Fantini squad, another Italian team. Team Polti Visit Malta running in second place, but a little bit more daylight. But the kind of, it's not much to choose between them, is there? It can't be much more than 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah, I think the gap slightly falls short. This is actually a really steep bit of road here, isn't it? But 2.9 k's to go. Let's say it's going to take them best part of 8 minutes more climbing, something like that. I think it is looking very good for this man. Unless Zoccarato can find something special. He's out of sight at the moment. There he is, emerging from the trees. Slightly different style. This man, I think, is moving the quickest on the climb at the moment, but that's a long gap to bring back.
Jan Castellón, the 21-year-old Spaniard with the Caravelle Seguras Orgie squad, and he's rocking and rolling. The rhythm's good. He's got teammates behind. A little bit of an injection of pace means that riders are becoming detached at Saporizio. The Burgos Pellet squad, and they've had several riders in that group for quite a long time. Keeper Karen Farmer, lots of representation from Spain, as we mentioned earlier, in this year's Tour of Slovenia. Down to the final 2.5 kilometers here, and a little bit more. This is where it really starts to grip. You can tell that your stage leader, Sarenko's out of the saddle. He's really started to open up an advantage, and here it comes from the Lidl Trek squad behind. They've had quite enough of that, and it's an extra injection of pace from
Tegan Hart on the front.
Lopez,
Lopez did a long pull. Tegan Hart has now pulled through, distinctly changing the shape of this group. Grosshartner moves level with Tegan Hart, and Lopez looks like he's going to go again on the left-hand side, and there he goes.
So that one's set up by Teo Geoghegan-Hart as he moves to the side of the road instantly, not needing a second invitation. Juan Pedro Lopez goes on the attack. He's a little bit further back on general classification, so forcing Grosshartner to close this one down. And is that Kulset or Hallen Johansson maybe that's just trying to close it down for the Uno X squad behind?
Yellow jersey, green jersey, Fabio Christian, should I say, is in difficulty. He's now being distanced, so they need to continue with this effort. If they're going to create a significant gap between them and our race leader, if it continues to be this staccato style of racing, he could fight back. Meanwhile, it's still a tight battle between these two, isn't it? 2.2 k's to go, and only about 75 metres distance between them on the road.
So several great scraps on this mountain to try and take hold of and take in, because Kirilo Sarenko of Ukraine and the Team Solution Tech Vini Fantini squad soaring to glory here today, but still a long way to go. And really you feel that there's an awful lot of energy left in the group of main favourites behind. The counter-attacks coming left, right and centre, and those stalls are proving challenging for several riders, but offering perhaps an opportunity for Fabio Christian to ride back into the group as the lone chaser behind, Jan Castellón, still continues to profit from the stalls behind as the VF Group Bardiani squad, the latest on the attack from that group. Uno X as well want to try and see can they race clear, and Lidl Trek certainly don't have it all their own way. The World Tour teams are in a real scrap with the Division 2 outfits here.
Yep, certainly on 1900 metres to go. Remember, on the general classification, Teo Geoghegan-Hart is only 21 seconds behind our race leader. This man, nowhere on the GC as you can see, but he's putting up a determined fight and he's got into a good rhythm. I think there's a distinct possibility this man might hold on to this. Wow.
Fabio Christen's in big trouble. The overall race leader now finding himself removed again from the group of favourites, starting the day with an advantage over the I suppose best of the rest up front, which is Theo Gegenhardt of 25 seconds, and the gap is going out. Now the bonus seconds are heading off up the road at the moment. We'll see whether Grossschartner and the rest can get themselves in contention. Is this Johannes Kulset, I think, who's here, and possibly was Kulset certainly there. He's the one with the flappy number, and we know why from that crash earlier on today.
Yeah, the closest rider, geez. Yeah, sorry, it's trying to spot if one of those riders was indeed Johannesson. Remember, he sits in second at 16 seconds, but yeah, 2 Uno X, can't quite tell. There's Theo Gegenhardt just attached now. Juan P. Lopez is just at the back of this little group. Felix Grossschartner looking very solid there in second place in the white of UAE.
Kulset goes, and Anders Halland Johansson is just waiting to confirm it, but looks as if it's Anders Halland Johansson, and if it is, then he is the rider waiting to profit and potentially going into the overall race lead. There'll be a few Adria Mobile riders to encourage as well on the climb for the fans on the road. Castillon as well is giving a great account of himself and is still not quite entirely out of it. We haven't had too many time gaps of late, so not entirely sure what the gap is between our leader out front, but he's got plenty of daylight between himself and this group, the group of favourites. Uno X in command at the moment, and Kulset available. Karen Firma getting back involved, and it looks as if they're starting to reassemble. Oh, but now more counter-attacks coming.
Yep. Karen Firma, another big acceleration just down here as well. This is Ormzel, at best a young rider, fighting to stay in contention. What a bold, brave ride it is for this young man.
Jakob Omerzel, 6th overall, starting the day just 25 seconds down and moving very smoothly indeed, albeit he has found himself with a little bit of a gap to close, and he's managing to do that, and he's doing it once. Now our leader up front within 1,200 metres, close to the kite, but also close to his absolute limit. There's Belgian fans, plenty of Slovenians out on the side of the road as well, maybe 1 or 2 Ukrainians there or thereabouts to support this man in his dreams of glory, and it would be a massive victory in his career. The overall winner, of course, of the Tour of Hainan in China earlier on this year, with a stage victory to go with it, but this in Europe would be a major addition to his palmarès. Chasing behind is, well, it's saying chase 2, but is it chase 3 on the road? Because where's Zoccarato? Last time we heard, Samuele Zoccarato was second on the road, but Castillo trying to fight off and fend off the group of favourites with the Uno X squad, and Anders Halland Johansson potentially racing into the overall race leadership here. And oh, it's a cruel gradient to save for the back end of this climb, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely brutal. Just look at the gear that he's in. It's still keeping a pretty decent cadence, though. Do you see the way on the last bend, rather than cut the apex, he kept as wide as he can just to shave a little bit of percentage off the gradient, as now Grossschartner goes clear. Grossschartner taking with him Johannesson.
Oh, a great job being done by Anders Halland. We think of him as he's certainly of the two the Johansson brothers, Halland Johansson brothers, maybe not quite as good a climber as his brother, but he's very, very good indeed. Stage win in Tour de l'Avenir a few years ago, of course, and Theo Gegenhardt, coming back after a long layoff, is struggling to stay in contention here, albeit he is in front of his teammate Juan Pedro Lopez, who seems to be the not quite climbing with the same efficiency of Theo Gegenhardt. So the preferred option at the moment for the Lidl Trek squad would be Theo Gegenhardt, but he's fighting a rearguard action. Things looking good at the moment for Uno X, and indeed for the U18 membered squad, with Felix Grossschartner starting to move clear, and riders increasingly they're hitting this gradient. And now the rider up front, Serenko, we can get a sort of a basis for comparison. He looks as if he's doing as well as they are. Behind the favourite riders, not going a whole lot quicker than him.
Yeah, they're only about, I mean, he passed that, they're probably only about 200 metres behind him at the moment, but that could equate to the best part of 3/4 of a minute. The gap has come down dramatically as Johansson now sweeps past the rider that attacked earlier on, and as Grossschartner hasn't given up as well, but this is brutally steep here. It really is. Theo Gegenhardt also fighting. Good to see the Brit back in some decent form. This race is not over. The GC up for grabs here.
Well, they're fighting the bike desperately. Jose Felix Parra with in the company of Theo Gegenhardt to try and stay in contention for a little while longer. Meanwhile, up front, he's well, they've picked up the cameras, but he's still at some distance from the finish line yet, well inside the final kilometre. But this has been a brave bid from the early break of the day until Sarenko of Ukraine and Team Solution Tech Vinny Fantini. We haven't seen Zuccarello because I can only think that he has been overhauled at this point. Well, we make no assumptions. Anders Halland Johansson either second or third on the climb at the moment, and just a small amount of space between him and the rest of the favourites. So Anders Halland Johansson starting with an advantage in there over the rest of the favourites, starting second of course, but the man who led into this fourth stage is currently some distance removed on the climb, so heading towards the overall race leadership. Uno X and Norway at the moment. Kulset there as well, won't assist with the chasing. Castillon is trying to fight to stay ahead of the rest of the favourites. Theo Gegenhardt potentially moving to second overall here if he can stay in, but this is a real scrap all the way to the line. Here's Zuccarello, so he is second on the hill.
Yeah, great ride by a good fighting performance there by the Italian. The gradient starts less and less like Theo Gegenhardt trying to wind things up a little bit. Yes, Johannesson just in front of Grosshartner, also accelerating clear now. And so Johannesson rounds this corner. It's going to be a real scrap for the minor placings here, which will determine the outcome of the GC. But what a ride tackling by this young man here.
Kirilo Sarenko from Team Solution Tech, Vinny Fantini, can hardly believe what he is about to achieve, because he went in the early break. He's been up there all day, and he is going to survive on one of the most brutal climbs in recent history of Tour of Slovenia. He can have a little look around and compose your victory celebration, because he's shaking his head. It's an absolutely massive victory. Kirilo Sarenko takes the win on stage 4, and while he's not going to move up significantly on general classification, it nonetheless is a huge win. He's managed to fend off all of the breakaway riders and the favourites behind. Samuele Zuccarello is going to do enough to take another significant result in his career for Team Polti Visit Malta. The Italian rider vanquished on the climb, but nonetheless a commendable performance for Zuccarello. He gets second, and now we create an X to see who's coming up next. It's Anders Halland Johansson racing to glory, racing to green here. Felix Grosshartner not quite able to stay on terms. Third, some bonus seconds to go with it, and a little bit of a detachment between himself and Theo Gegenhardt, and there's Kulset there as well, and Castillon surviving from his effort, and they're coming up this hill in ones and twos, and we're going to have to wait a little while, I think, for the erstwhile race leader, as we see the latest young Slovenian to put in your notebook, Jakub Omerzel. Starting the day 6th overall. It's going to keep that position, I think.
Yeah, that's a great ride by the youngster. Juanpi Lopez just rolling across the line. Keplinger also there as well. But as you say, riders just split to bits all over this mountain, spread over many minutes. But what a ride by this man. Key, that valley road, as well as having brilliant legs. We know he's won big races this year already, but to stay away against that sort of opposition, absolutely fantastic. Break of the day, holding on.
Here he comes. And here's Fabio Kirsten fighting a rearguard action for much of that mountain, all the way to the line to try and preserve a decent position on general classification. But it is going to be a stepping out of the overall race leadership. Kirsten 18th across the line by our calculations, 1 minute and 40 seconds down. Sarenko at the end of the day had 28 seconds over Samuele Zuccarello, 38 seconds over the first of the favourites, Anders Halland Johansson, who's now into the overall race leadership.
That was a proper battle, that was, wasn't it? They left it very late as well, knowing how steep these slopes were. Quite muted the first part of the climb, a good tempo being set by Lidl Trek, but everybody knew quite clearly how hard the back end of this climb would be, so saved everything to the end. So we have a new race leader, and the biggest win of the career of his career for Sarenko. Absolutely superb, and probably the biggest win of the year for Team Solution Tech, Vinny Fantini as well. That's a big win for that team.
Walter Calzoni across the line for the Q36.5 squad, to be somewhat disappointed really to have dropped out of the overall race leadership. Nonetheless, great week for them to this point. Still another opportunity to shine tomorrow. And climbers grinding their way to the line. To conclude the day, the Burgos BH squad were in it for a long time today. Aparicio among their number. Jose Manuel Diaz, the best place finisher for that squad, in 15th place today. No doubt about the man that got the win, Kirilo Sadenko. We hope to catch up with him very shortly. We'll see him on the podium. As the finishing order